Congratulations on Breakthrough BAFTAs, guys. I can imagine that's a fantastic accomplishment and achievement. You must have been delighted when they told you that you were going to be part of this kind of illustrious upcoming group.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's a great honour. I didn't really know what the scheme was before until I was approached, so it's exciting to be a Breakthrough Brit, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a fantastic group of people, not just actors, but people behind the scenes as well. I mean, that in itself is fantastic, that it's not just for actors, but it's for you guys who maybe don't get the recognition behind the scenes that you might do somewhere else. That must be very exciting.
Yeah, it's really nice. There's a couple of people that I've sort of known for a while. Like, we've sort of been like moving through and, you know, moving up through in our careers, so it's nice to sort of be like, like it's on track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I was just talking to you off camera about you worked on Prometheus. Where, both early in both your careers. I mean, was there a catalyst where you decided that you wanted to do what you guys are doing, or did you kind of fall into it, or was it always a dream of yours to do what you've been doing?
I mean, I always wanted to be a filmmaker in some respect. I started quite early. I actually started in the camera department, I suppose, but I think by that point, certainly when I was working in the art department on Prometheus, I knew I wanted to be a production designer. Or I didn't know what route or how fast that would happen. I mean, it has happened relatively fast, but up to the point where I was working in the industry before, I specialised after doing an MA at the NFTS, and then went on from that point basically to work with some very generous other designers who allow me to kind of be very creative within their art departments.
Yeah. Was that good for you in your career in terms of working on something big pretty much straight off the bat, even though you were part of the art department, or?
I mean, at the time, Prometheus just came at a good time. I just finished the MA, needed a job, essentially. It was an exciting project. I think what it allowed me to do was take a step back and sort of see how you do something from beginning to end, and to see how a project of that scale works. I think it taught me a lot, and it also taught me that I didn't always want to just be in art departments on big movies, so I kind of went off and did a lot of other smaller projects as well, just to get variation, because you can stay in a sort of art department journey, if you like. I was quite sure in myself that I wanted to design, because I'm not so good at second guessing other people's creative ideas. So.
Yeah, and for you, I mean, sex education, I'm sure you were hopeful that it would be a success, but it's just blown up into this huge thing after one season. I mean, you must be, are you still kind of coming to terms with the fact that it's been such a huge success?
Yeah, I still, like, genuinely, I thought it was going to be a big flop, so it was a real, very nice surprise. And yeah, I still sort of get a bit shocked when people come up and, you know, want to talk about it, because I feel like only my mum has seen it. But I think like that's also partly to do with the, you know, it being on the streaming platform, and it's, you know, rather than it coming out every week, it's sort of like people consume it and have that sort of relationship with it. But yeah, it's been great.
What was kind of the catalyst for you to get involved with that? Because I know that it's become this huge phenomenon, but I mean, in the early work, what was it that kind of that spurred you on to tell the story?
Well, I had graduated from the NFTS as well, doing screenwriting, and it took me quite a few years. I had lots of different projects in development, but I could never really get anything made or sort of like to a green light. And then the producers at 11 Film, who produce Sex Education with Netflix, they sort of came to me with a seed pitch. So they'd sort of come up with the idea of what would happen if we put a sex therapist teenage character onto a school campus, and then I was able to take that and sort of build the world of Moordale and these sort of wacky characters that inhabit that place. It's been a lot of fun.
How was the platform because you both said you worked you were at the NFTS. I mean, in terms of a platform, has that been good? Would you kind of encourage people to, if they wanted to do what you've done, that's a good kind of platform for them to start out?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was really, really helpful. I'd been living in Australia for a while before that, and so when I came back to the UK, I really didn't really know where to start and what sort of connections to make, and I think the NFTS are really fantastic at really sort of making you think about what it means to actually make a career in the film and TV industry, and like how to make money, and to make you think about it in that more sort of practical sense. So I found it very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as well, everyone is there, who is there because they really want a career in their relative speciality. So you are already kind of working in the industry. It's sort of training with people you're probably going to end up working with again outside of that structure. So it's, in that sense, when we went, I don't know, I mean, small classes, and it was very, for me, it was like 3 or 4 years squished into 2. It was very intense. So it was a very good
and it's
way
sort of
to
in the
kind
middle of nowhere as well.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
Like,
yeah,
it's really just like
I mean.
loads of it's a strange experience, but a really great one, I think.
It is. You're like in a bubble for a couple of years, aren't you? And then you get turfed out into the real world again, and it's like falling off the edge of a cliff. But no, I'd recommend it to anyone who's serious about doing. It's difficult. I think you need to have worked beforehand to appreciate and get the most out of the NFTS as well.
That's true.
Yeah, you both worked on TV. You obviously worked on Chernobyl recently, and obviously you were sex education. There's a different kind of streaming thing, but the TV industry is changing, but it's very strong, and a lot of filmmakers a lot of the best filmmakers, even Ridley Scott, I was talking to some guys before, are coming over to TV because they're able to tell the stories that maybe they wouldn't get financing for, or maybe the studios don't want to make anymore. I mean, how strong do you think TV is at the minute? Because there's so much content and so much amazing stuff being done.
I think TV is amazing. I mean, I think the best scripts that I'm getting, I'm not saying that I get great scripts, I suppose, but they're definitely the most interesting original contents in television, the braver contents in television, and the money's there in television as well because of the way it's funded. So you're not waiting for cast or certain things to align for a film to go ahead. I think that at a certain level of television anyway, it's very exciting. It's still as cinematic as making a movie. And I think that's why it's attracting those kinds of people who would normally have made a film.
And I think just being able to tell a story over like many hours or many half hours just lets an audience just feel so connected with the characters. And I don't see that, even though it's sort of peak TV, I don't see that going anywhere. And hopefully there's just going to be more diversity of voices and people coming at it from different perspectives, and it feels like a really good time.
Yeah. How is obviously you're doing season 2 of Sex Education. How much of a challenge has it been to kind of go back and tell the story in a broader way and go back and revisit these characters? Because I guess with not so much a sequel, but you want to kind of expand on what you've done before, but also in keeping with what's gone before.
Yeah. I had quite a strange experience because I started writing series 2 before series 1 had actually sort of been released, or we'd seen how people had responded to it, and I think that was quite a good thing because it meant I could sort of just stay in the bubble of the world and these characters, and it's really just about going what happens next in the story and trying to stay true to that, and trying to keep it really still funny and still feeling like the tone of the show, but it's definitely slightly grown. We've added some more characters, and it's sort of getting a bit bigger.
Yeah, was part of the story, because I know a lot of fans have talked about how it's kind of British set, but it's an American high school kind of vibe. I mean, was that something that you did on purpose, that you wanted to kind of blend the two together to kind of tell the story in the best possible way?
Yeah, so the script always had this slightly heightened sort of feeling to it. I think because of the pitch is so heightened, it's like a kid giving out sex advice in a toilet cubicle, which is bonkers. So it always sort of had that feeling, and I was always really influenced by a lot of American like film and TV teen stuff that I'd seen when I was younger. And then Ben Taylor, the director, who's also an executive producer, he just loves John Hughes, and so really when we came together, it just sort of happened naturally. It seemed to confuse a lot of people, which sort of I sort of loved that. But yeah, people were like, "What is happening?" But
it's a very distinctive feel, and it gives it such a great kind of vibrancy that's different to everything else, kind of high school based, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely. I always feel like Moordale is not a real place. It's sort of this. It's like a little utopia where these teenagers exist. So hopefully that comes across. Yeah.
How was it working for you on Chernobyl? It's been such a huge success, but how? It's such a particular moment in time, and it's such a historical moment. Was it a big challenge to kind of bring that back to life?
I don't know if we brought it back to life. It was a huge challenge. It was a very difficult project. It was very it felt important when we were on it. I think everyone was sort of brought together by this notion, especially being where we filmed it over in Lithuania and Kiev. It was, people who were working on it, they either lived through it or are affected by it. So it kind of had that added layer. But I think the thing is, when we started the project, you felt like you could only go two ways if you were to reference other films about the Soviet Union. So you've kind of got the Western view of the Soviet Union, or you've got this sort of slightly nostalgic Russian view of the Soviet Union. So I think the aim really for us was to create a kind of a bubble where it became a believable world for these very surreal events that were happening. So there's a lot of comments about how authentic it was, and of course we were striving for authenticity, but we were trying to strike a tone. I guess it was almost like quite sickening.
Yeah.
And carry that through the show. I mean, we had a lot of sets. It was about trying to make it as coherent visually as possible, and obviously that goes with everyone working on it. I mean, Jakob, who shot it, and Johan, of course, the director, who's incredibly visual anyway. So yeah, it was tough. I mean, it was particularly tough because there's not, in terms of finding locations, and we did build a lot, but we did use a lot of location. Not a lot of it exists. So I mean, it was amazing how much I think we had to do to every single set to get it feeling like it was within our Chernobyl world, if you like.
Yeah. And how was it? I think you're working on a Game of Thrones prequel,
Yes.
which I'm sure you can't talk about at all, because it's usually one of those things that's very much, hey, you can't really say anything. But I guess for you behind the scenes, you can give us a flavour of what is going to be coming, because people are very excited, because the original was kind of it's finished now, and this is the next step, if you like.
Yeah. What do you know about it? I can start
Not
there.
a lot. Not a lot. I don't know a lot. I know some people that are in it, but
essentially it's set about 3,000 years before the current series. There's no real link, sort of based on the myths and legends that they talk about within the show. So I guess what I can say is that my pitch for that, and what we're aiming to do visually, is to take prehistoric landscapes and focus on sophisticated civilizations, ancient civilizations. Otherwise, if you take it literally, you're in the Bronze Age, and it's all a little bit like people hitting things with sticks. So, and I think what Jane's written is amazing, and it's really a little bit like a kind of sort of classic adventure movie that goes on a journey. And yeah, it's an exciting, it's a challenging project because it comes with a lot of baggage.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and just for you, I mean, obviously you've got season 2 coming out soon. Have you got anything else coming up that you're working on that you can share?
I have no time. I live in the brain of a 16-year-old boy at the moment, which is very unhealthy. But yeah, so it's basically sex education. It's consuming everything at the moment, but I really enjoy it, so it's a good place to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey